Join us. All right, so I am seeing, I think that's the end of, oh, no, we got one more person joining. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and begin. So hello, and thank you for joining us here tonight. My name is Reginald Parson, and I'm the Deputy Director with the Maine Paid Family and Medical Leave Program, and I'll be moderating and leading tonight's listening session. With me is my colleague Dylan Murray, Legislative Liaison with the Maine Department of Labor, and also present on the call is Luke Monahan, Director of the Paid Family and Medical Leave Program. Before I go further, I would like to state that tonight's listening session will be recorded and posted on the department's webpage on paid family and medical leave. Tonight, we're looking for your input on the topic of private plans and the provisions that are outlined in the paid family and medical leave legislation, and is an opportunity for members of the public to identify areas that need clarification in the legislation. These questions and areas needing clarification will be used to inform the official rulemaking process, which will begin in the spring. Again, this informal listening session does not replace and is in addition to the formal regulatory process governed by the Maine Administrative Procedures Act. To provide you with a roadmap of tonight's listening session, I will begin by providing an overview of the provisions of legislation that pertain to private plans. After the presentation, we'll then open up the meeting to hear from the public. Participants who wish to comment will be allowed up to 2 minutes. If you wish to offer comment, please raise the Zoom raise hand function, and you'll be called upon by a staff member assisting with this event, and the 2-minute time clock will begin. If all questions and comments provided during the public comment have been exhausted prior to 7 p.m., the event will conclude. Given time constraints tonight, we please ask to keep your comments only on the topic of private plans, and any questions directed to the department regarding the substance of private plans will come through the official rulemaking process in the spring. We encourage you to visit the department's webpage on paid family and medical leave, where you'll find up-to-date information such as a PowerPoint providing an overview of the PFML law, along with the timeline that outlines key implementation dates. You can find this by going to www.maine.gov/labor/PFML. With that, we'll go ahead and begin tonight's event with a very brief PowerPoint presentation. Okay, so when it comes to private plans, an employer may apply for a private plan exemption, showing what they offer is a plan that is substantially equivalent. We have received a lot of questions on what substantially equivalent means, and so we're hoping tonight that folks in the audience who wish to offer comment can provide any context or any perspective as to what the department should be thinking about during this process. If a plan is approved, so long as it meets the obligations in the PFML law regarding rights, benefits, and protections, that employer will not be required to remit premiums to the paid family and medical leave fund. And in addition, the department still withholds the right, once a plan has been approved, to withdraw the approved plan if any of the terms and conditions have been violated. And so also if an employer is providing this private plan in the form of self-insurance, bond must be provided to the state with the surety company that is authorized to transact business in the state. That is also in the form, amount, and manner required by the department. And in addition, any employer's private plan must provide coverage for all employees of the employer throughout that employee's period with that employer. And finally, if the plan is in the form of a third party, which provides for insurance, the forms regarding the policy or the paid or the private plan policy must be issued by an insurer that is also authorized to conduct business in the state of Maine. So with that said, I believe that concludes this portion of it. Again, this is more of an opportunity to hear from you about private plans. And so at this time, we're gonna go ahead and open up the public comment portion of this. And so I will defer to Dylan to who he will be calling upon. And then the 2-minute time clock will begin.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to start at the top of the list here. I saw Cindy. So Cindy, I'm gonna allow you to talk and feel free to unmute and go right ahead.
All right, thank you very much. Good evening. My name is Cindy Goff, and I work for the American Council of Life Insurers. We represent over 280 life insurance companies, many of whom provide group disability and paid leave insurance products to millions of Americans. Our member companies protect the financial futures of millions of families throughout the country, including many Mainers. So thank you for allowing me this chance to talk. I'll keep my remarks really brief as I'm joined by other ACLI member companies on the call who are going to give their own unique feedback and perspectives as well. So as a representative of the group of insurance carriers that will offer insured PFML products in Maine, our member companies have collectively built private option PFML programs in 6 states since 2017 and have paid millions of PFML claims. We know the challenges you will face starting up a program, and we want to be a resource to you. We're here to support the department as you build your program and lend our expertise around the best practices as well as things we've learned can be avoided as you build your program. And so we'll be bringing ideas together, particularly around private plan administration, declaration and opt-out processes, claims processes, reporting, and things like that. We found that open lines of communication, collaboration, and cooperation between insurers and the departments will help build a PFML program that is successful and valued by the most important stakeholders in this process, the employers and employees in the state of Maine. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and we're very much looking forward to working with you as we all move together on this incredibly important work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Cindy. Okay, next on my list, I had Jake LaChance, so I'm gonna send you the permission and go right ahead.
Thank you, Dylan. Much appreciated. Good to see you and Reggie here. I don't know if you can see me. I don't think so, but always good to see you two gentlemen. And Mr. Moynihan, I appreciate it, or Monahan, I appreciate it as well. So one of the major things that us here at the Maine Chamber of Commerce would like to bring to light is really the time frame of which this plan is being put out. And I think that has a direct correlation with this rulemaking and the private plan component of that. I know that one of the major facets of rolling out this plan is giving folks the ability to have that possibility of joining a substantially equivalent plan and giving them the time to do that and to roll out plans that could be best for a member of the business community. We feel as though that's really important. We recognize 100% that best option may be this paid family and medical leave program that the state is putting on. But for some employers, the best plan for them could be a private plan. And we want to make sure that while this rulemaking process is happening, these private plans get the chance to be a part of that decision-making processes for business. This usually takes multiple months for private plans to be constructed around these stipulations. And we really want to make sure that they have the time needed to be able to do that. I do think that with this time frame, it's really making sure, ideally in May or June, the employer would have the ability to declare their intent of whether or not they're seeking private coverage in lieu of what the state's plan is going to be. And that's important for a lot of reasons, but the most importantly is that a lot of folks' fiscal budget is already being figured out now to come to a head starting July 1. And we want to make sure that employers and all the folks that are going to be a part of this plan are able to properly budget themselves to be a part of this plan if that's what's going to be the best plan for them, whether that is a private plan or the DOL proposed plan as this rules making goes forward. Those are the major points that I would like to make tonight. And as always, gentlemen, much appreciated for the time.
Thank you, Jake.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Jake. Next on the list, I have Umberto Speranza. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you permission to talk and feel free to unmute yourself and go right ahead.
Thanks very much. Thanks, Reggie. Great to see you. Thanks to everyone at the department. My name is Umberto Speranza. I represent Unum Group, and I'm commenting today as both a major Maine employer and one of the nation's leading providers of disability insurance, which has been the bedrock of paid family medical leave programs as they've rolled out across the nation. Unum delivers workplace benefits and financial protection products to over 45 million Americans and hundreds of thousands of Mainers. As such, we've been part of a number of public-private partnerships, building PFML products to suit state requirements in states like Massachusetts, New York, Oregon, Colorado, and certainly many more to come, including Maine. We look forward to being able to do the same here, as Maine has been our home state for over 175 years. We view the relationship between insurers and the state as one of mutual success, and work closely with states to ensure that all workers receive the coverage they deserve. We've been fortunate to have been a part of this process in Maine from the very beginning, from the commission to the legislation. And now we look to lend a hand in the rulemaking process and offer our learnings as you go about not just the private plan process, but much more. We encourage a strong declaration process and a private plan approval process that's easy for employers to navigate, done in a manner that empowers employers to make the decision that's right for them and be informed as soon as possible. We also believe, based on many, many years of experience, that a strong partnership between the DOL and the BOI is also important, as we've had longstanding relationships with our state regulators in this space. Again, and I'll close here, most of all, we're here to lend a hand to you, to Maine employers and to Maine workers, given our decades of experience in the leave and leave administration space across the nation. It's really an exciting opportunity for us to be able to focus on our home state, serve more Maine employers and employees as you go about this process. So thank you very much for all you're doing, and please don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Umberto. And before we move on, I just wanted to remind folks that for anybody with a comment they'd like to bring forward, please use the raise hand function along the bottom toolbar of your Zoom window, and that'll indicate to me that you would like to make a comment. So next I have Curtis Picard. I'm going to go ahead and give you the permission and feel free to start.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Curtis Picard. I'm representing Retail Association of Maine. I appreciate the opportunity to provide some comments. I'll echo Mr. LaChance from the State Chamber a little bit, but I wanted to dive a little bit deeper. One of the things we've been hearing from our members that are anticipating having a substantially equivalent plan are those that already provide this type of benefit. And one of their questions is, if by the January 1st, 2025 start date of this program, if their plan is not approved yet, are you anticipating that these employers will have to contribute to the state plan and fund, provide the funding for their private plan until their plan gets approved? So by way of saying that, I'm also suggesting to the department that clarity be made about this program, and that those that already have an existing plan that they think might be substantially equivalent can apply for and get it approved before the January 1st start date. I know that's one of the things we've highlighted in some of these other listening sessions, the importance of having these rules done before the end of the year, so that people know, the rules that they're playing with. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is when you look at section 850-H, subsection 1, when it talks about what type of plan is going to qualify for a private plan, it does keep using the term substantially equivalent. But I guess the key word there is really substantially, because when you read the provisions, it really sounds more like it has to be equivalent and not substantially equivalent. So for that, you can look at under subsection 1, B, C, and D. I'll use that substantially equivalent term, but it's very prescriptive that it has to provide the leave and benefits that are required in sections 850C, subsection 2, 850C, subsection 3. And then lastly, under 850H1, subsection H, it reads, providing that the cost to employees covered by the private plan may not be greater than the cost charged to employees under section 850F. And our question there that some members have raised is if they're able to get a private plan for less than the 1% overall contribution that's been talked about with this plan, do they still need to split that 50-50, meaning an equal 50-50 split? Or can the employee still pay up to 0.5% towards that cost and be considered substantially equivalent? So I'll stop my comments there and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Curtis. Okay, just want to remind folks to use the raise hand function to ask any questions you may have. And the raise hand function's on the bottom toolbar of your Zoom window. All questions are good questions.
Yes. All right, so I think we see Brianna.
Yeah, it looks like Brianna here. So Brianna, and I hope I'm not butchering your name. Please feel free to unmute yourself and join the conversation.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. You got it absolutely correct. My name is Brianna Scott. I represent New York Life as an employer, working for a company that plans to offer private plan administration in the future for your great program. Thank you again for allowing us all to participate in this so early in the process. Kind of a little bit tacking on to some of the commentary just from Curtis that he shared. I would recommend, it's more of a comment than a true question. I would recommend that you consider a declaration of intent type of process for private plan opt-out in the state of Maine, given your time frame for regulation development, the likelihood for us being able to have private plans fully approved by the Department of Insurance and ready to go for sale by the time state program contributions start. It's unlikely that all of that is going to work out quite in the way that you anticipate. And so many other states have looked at some sort of declaration of intent process in which an employer is committing to seeking a private plan. If they do not secure a private plan for some reason, then they would owe contribution back to the contribution effective date. Several states have found this to be a reasonable process, and that employers, for the most part, are following through with securing those private plans. So that's a recommendation to consider, something that the state of Maryland is now looking at, Oregon and Massachusetts, both as prior states have implemented in this fashion. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Okay. And it looks like Desti is up next, so I'm going to give you the permission and feel free to jump on in.
Okay, great. Hi, good evening. I'm Desti Holman-Sprague. I'm here tonight as the Executive Director of Maine Women's Lobby, but I'm specifically tonight representing the comments from the Maine Paid Family and Medical Leave Coalition. As you know, we're 40 plus member organizations in our coalition, so happy to be here. On behalf of our coalition, we just wanted to share that We believe that private plan option is one important way for companies to meet the state's minimum requirements regarding this law, but that plans should offer the same level of rights, benefits, confidence, and oversight as the public plan. So we have two key themes that we want to address here. First, that Maine workers accessing private plans should have the same rights and benefits as their peers. A couple of things to keep in mind that we're recommending. We interpret substantial equivalence to mean that the state's plan is the minimum standard that must be met. It's our priority to ensure that workers who are covered by private plans have the same appeals process as workers who are covered by the state plan, and don't have additional processes in order to access those benefits. That rulemaking must address what happens when workers participating in private plans separate from employment, either immediately before or during their leave for any reason. And finally, that private plans must report the same information to the same source in the same timeline so that the authority may make direct comparisons on program efficacy and offer any necessary observations or recommendations. The second bucket that we wanted to bring to you is that private plans must offer the same level of confidence as the public plan option. So we recommend that the State Insurance Bureau approve each private plan that's offered on the market, as it happens in several other states. In the event that employers default on their obligations, rulemaking should ensure that workers are not penalized for those actions. We think that rulemaking should address concurrent coverage, what happens when workers who are covered by a private plan and the state plan at the same time. And finally, that approved private plans have regular audits to ensure compliance with state law and safeguard access for employees. So thanks for the opportunity to comment. I'll follow up with these comments in writing in a little more detail. We really appreciate all the work that you're doing to have this process.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dusty. Okay, so yeah, please use the raised hand function if you do have comments you'd like to make. No questions or comments are bad. So I encourage folks to utilize this time and raise any concerns or questions you might have. And just to remind folks, the raise hand function is in the bottom toolbar on your Zoom window. If you use the raise hand function, I'll see that you want to make a comment or ask a question, and I will give you permission to speak. Permissions being on the back end of Zoom. So feel free to raise your hand, and I will make sure to call on you.
And again, this is just, again, we can go to 7 PM. But if folks are no longer wishing to speak, I mean, still have time to speak, but if all comments have been exhausted prior to 7, we can conclude the event. So, but there's still opportunity.
Last call.
Yeah.
Yeah. To speak directly to folks who are like me and maybe get nervous over question asking in public. There are no wrong questions, no bad questions, and we are very friendly. So please use your raise hand function and we can call on you.
I'm not seeing any additional raised hands. And if that is the case, we can, wrap up for tonight.
One thing I'm thinking, just maybe folks are busy until 6 or something, and so maybe an extra 10 or so minutes just to give some folks time to jump on if they're coming in late.
Yeah, so we can extend it a few more minutes if folks, we realize this is like dinner hour for a lot of folks. So, but if not, if we do close up over the next 10 minutes, this recording, will be posted on our PFML webpage, so folks can, watch, what happens if they depart now or stay.
And once more, just a reminder to ask any questions, feel free to use the raise hand function. Folks are probably tired of hearing me say that, but it is in the bottom toolbar on your Zoom window. And if you use that, I will be able to see that you wanted to ask a question. Thanks so much. I just wanted to put out there once more, there is some additional information on the Maine Department of Labor's webpage on PFML. So if you were to go to www.maine.gov/labor/PFML, there's some information pertaining to future listening sessions, covering different topics and other important matters. So just throwing it out there, if folks want to check out the website, there's plenty of good info there. And so I realize this is a long period of silence.
Yeah.
We just want to make sure folks have, if they're coming in late, couldn't make 5:30, but could make 6, that they, have an opportunity to raise their concerns. So I may mute us intermittently on our end, and that is, not any cause of you, but we just want to, make sure we're still here for anybody coming in late. Thank you so much. We have a taker. Okay, Kate Blackford, I'm going to give you the permissions needed and feel free to jump in.
Thank you so much. And partly I'm speaking just because it has been quiet and filling the silence as you wait for a few more minutes. But I wanted to let you know that I was reading through the draft regulations that are being put out by the state of Maryland, and they have an interesting clause that they've put in, which I think is really clear in Maine statute, that the private plan requirements are really separate from all of the other sections, but they do include in the draft regulations that participation in a private plan doesn't negate or change any employer obligations with respect to job protections and retaliation under those sections of the law. And so I thought that would be just interesting to point out that the interactions between the employer plan section and the rest of the statute, there may be other questions like this that end up coming up as you end up drafting rules. And so it feels like an interesting thing to potentially add in to this section of rules, as well as to clarify in other sections of rules, potentially, depending on how those draft regs are written.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kate.
Yeah, thank you both for all of this. It's really great.
All right, so I know we've been in a little period of silence. Kate used their raise hand function really well. So anybody else who wants to take a shot, by all means, go for it. I think we'll probably stay on for maybe 5 or so more minutes, just to
Yeah,
kind
just
of
to
let
make sure.
people, yeah, kind of trickle in if they need to, but we are here.
Okay, so seeing no other raised hands at this time, we are gonna go ahead and conclude this event for the night, but we do really thank you to everybody who listened in, and especially offered public comment regarding private plans, which is something we're gonna take many of these things into consideration as we move forward into the implementation process. But again, I want to say thank you, and if you have any additional information that you would like to view about paid family and medical leave, you can go to, again, www.maine.gov/labor/PFML on any information pertaining to listening sessions, and the next listening session will be held on February 28th from 5:30 to 7 online. Again, thank you to everybody and have a great night.
Thanks, everyone.
You.
Thanks, Zach, and Megan, but Zach, if you want to,